Hey guys, welcome to Kid Connect at Home. You guys, I just have to be honest, I've got a problem. It's kind of a big problem. In fact, it's bigger than this, and it's even bigger than this. It's really, really big problem. And I know that God is real and that God answers our prayers, but how my problem is impossible. How is God going to answer questions to my impossible prayer? But you know what? We've got to get to our lesson today, and hopefully there will be something in our big God story today that just might help me with my problem, and maybe if you have a problem, it'll help you too. So let's get started. Last week, we heard about how God rescued 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, from a fiery furnace. And today's part of the Big God story is about their friend, Daniel, who also was taken captive when they were. But this part of the story is years later when Daniel was probably about 80 years old. He was still living in Babylon and still serving the king. But Babylon had been taken over by men from the country of Persia. The new king met Daniel and decided he liked Daniel. The Bible says it pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. Now, Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. The new king liked Daniel so much, he made Daniel a leader in the kingdom and was thinking about putting him in charge of the entire kingdom. But guess what? This made some of those other leaders jealous. They began to look for a way to get Daniel in trouble. But Daniel was a really good worker. He didn't goof off or cheat or try to find shortcuts. Daniel was a really, really good worker, and when the men decided and figured out that they weren't going to get Daniel in trouble because of his work, they decided to go a different way. They were going to try to get Daniel in trouble because he loved and followed God. Daniel knew that God is real. And Daniel didn't follow God just a little bit, or even this much. Daniel followed God with his whole heart. 3 times a day, Daniel went upstairs, opened his windows that faced east toward Jerusalem, got on his knees, and prayed. Everyone knew that Daniel prayed for God's people 3 times a day. The jealous leaders thought of a way to kill Daniel. They were going to find a way to get Daniel in trouble for praying because of how jealous they were. So they went to see the king, and they tricked the king into signing a special law that for a whole month, 30 days, people could only pray to and worship the king, no other god. These jealous leaders knew that this would get Daniel in trouble because he would never pray to anyone except God. The leaders had the king write a terrible punishment for anyone who broke this new law. Anyone who prayed to God instead of the king would be thrown into a den of lions. Then the king sent out the announcement of the new law to his entire kingdom. The jealous leaders did all of this because they knew Daniel wouldn't stop praying to God. He worshiped the one true God, the only God that is real. This may seem like it would have been a scary situation for Daniel. So let's see what he did. Daniel 6:10 says, "Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God just as he had done before. Daniel didn't change anything because he wasn't afraid of anything, including lions, because he knew he had a God who was real. Daniel knew deep down in his heart that God is really real. So he kept praying to the one true God. The jealous leaders all went to Daniel's home together so they could watch him break this new law with their own eyes. Then they went to see the king. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or human being except to you, your majesty, would be thrown into the lion's den? The king answered, the decree stands in accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed. This meant the law couldn't be changed. And the leaders knew that the king liked Daniel. He really, really liked Daniel. So that's why they made sure he admitted out loud that he had made a law to have anyone killed who didn't pray to him. Now they could spring their trap. They told the king that Daniel didn't pay attention to him or his law, and that he still went upstairs and prayed 3 times a day. But what could the king do? He made a law that couldn't be changed, and now his favorite leader was going to have to die because of it. The Bible says the king was greatly distressed. He was upset and probably tried to do anything he could to find a way out of this problem and rescue Daniel. But there was nothing he could do. Daniel would have to be thrown into the lion's den. Now, the lion's den was probably a big pit in the ground. The lions inside were hungry because they weren't fed enough on purpose. The lions were left hungry so that they would gobble up, that they would eat anyone thrown into the pit. These lions were probably really hungry at this point. And sadly, the king had to give the order, so Daniel was thrown into that pit of lions. But listen to what the king said. He told Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." The king knew there was something special about Daniel's God. But a stone was placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it officially so no one could sneak back and let Daniel out. The king didn't eat or sleep that entire night because he was so worried about Daniel. The next morning, as soon as it started to get light, the king got up and rushed to the pit of lions. Let's read what happens. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel answered, "May the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty." This was amazing. Daniel was alive because Daniel's God is real. The king had his men get Daniel out of the pit. And then with his own eyes, the king could see that Daniel had not been hurt at all. The Bible says that they couldn't find any wounds, no cuts, no scrapes, no teeth marks all over Daniel's body because he trusted his God. The king knew it was God who saved Daniel because God is real. So the king sent out a new announcement. This time, it told everyone to worship Daniel's God, the one who rescued him from the lions, the one true God who is the real God. Throughout this part of the big God story, Daniel knew God is real. He's really real. Daniel prayed to God, and God saved him even from hungry lions, and he changed the king's heart. Daniel's faith made it possible for everyone to see that God is real. God still does amazing things when his people pray. So, going back to my problem from earlier, I think I know what to do now. I just have to keep trusting God and keep praying, even if my situation seems impossible. Even if God doesn't answer my prayer exactly the way I want him to, I know he's still going to do amazing things. And you know what? God is still good. But before I go, I have a new remember verse for us. Read it along with me. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Proverbs 19:21. Wow, doesn't that sound like Daniel's situation? The people had a plan, but God was still in control, and he came through for Daniel. I hope you guys remember that God is really real, and you can always trust him. He's always on your side. So have a fantastic week, and I will see you guys next time.